Hey dear Tyler. Well, from my side, this is good evening. But I'm sure by the time you get to hear this, it'll probably be morning, or depending on your time zone. And I hope you're really good. I hope you're fine. I hope your day went well. I hope you've been okay. For those of us down here in Nigeria, we've got a public holiday from Friday down to Monday. So it's I think we could say we have an early weekend. I actually wanted to do this episode tomorrow, but I think I'm in a position where I can't actually sleep. My battery is low, but I just put the phone on ultra saver mode so that I could just get this out. And I had this beautiful experience yesterday. That was Wednesday, and one group that I love so much, one-to-one seller, came over to Abuja, and we had an amazing worship meeting with them. Great, exceptional singers. And I was able to reach out to some of them. It was really great. I enjoyed myself. It was just nice. It was nice to see people doing, people living your dream. People living your dream. It was so nice, and I got talking with some of my guys. So let me just stop now. I actually wanted to stop this recording and just cancel it, but I will not give into it. So back to the podcast, right? Yeah. So I was, having a discussion with with two guys, and just talking. They were like, okay, how did these guys get up to this point? I was like, the truth about it is, I think they're celebrating that like 10 years or 12 years, if I'm not mistaken, together. And that's the point we didn't get to see. What we're getting to see is the manifestation of their silent years. These guys have broken grounds in Nigeria that is unprecedented. But music is not something that is, particularly looked at as a viable venture in Nigeria. Right? So people that do music, they look at it like these are people that have tried it out in life, and life has flogged them. And so this is like their last resort, and then they move from pillar to post, looking for some donations or trying to extort people for money, just some funny things like that. There's this very closed mind about music, and I can imagine how they must have had to fight to be able to make a name for themselves, to be able to bring a certain level of relevance. I imagine all the times that they had rehearsals and it was looking like nothing was happening. I was speaking to one of my friends that knows them, some of them being students, traveling down from school to Lagos. It was crazy. Finding out that one of them was, had been in school, had to stop, change course from one course down to music. It's crazy, and I'm thinking about all the, the slander they might have gotten. Hey, what are you doing with this? What are you doing with this? What are you doing with this? How can you, trade such a lucrative life for something in quote mediocre? And what we're seeing is a testament of something that only they saw. They saw the potential of greatness. Saw the potential of greatness. I was awake throughout the morning, so after the concert yesterday, I got home and I was just listening to their songs. And, I'm glad I was able to reach out to some of them, just to thank them for what they've done. But I can only imagine the struggle. I know this episode right now is just sounding very disjointed. But it will all tie up. It always does. And, I went through their social media, just seeing stuff. And, like, on Spotify, I realized, like, okay, they just have, like, 6,000 listens. 6,000 followers, few tens of thousands of listens on certain songs. And I'm like, oh my God, like, how? But it doesn't look as if these guys are phased. They're doing their music and they're loving it. And so there's this stuff about me. When I meet people that inspire me, I usually get this burst of energy to do certain things. So like throughout this morning, I was just thinking of different strategies, things that I would do. But I think I've got this weakness, and I think we all have that weakness. And that weakness is understanding process. I did some stuff, and I was hoping for like an immediate reaction. I was hoping for, people tweeted and like, "Oh my God, you're doing this." Do you understand? It all stemmed from the excitement, that burst of energy that came from being inspired by them. And so I started doing some certain things, and it really didn't just happen that way. And all of a sudden, discouragement wanted to set in. I started being judgmental about a lot of things. Oh, Bingo, you're not good enough for this. You're not doing this stuff well. It's just... And then I now started trying to kind of like, okay, forcefully motivate myself. Okay, put it out there, do certain things. And all I could just hear the Spirit of God say is that, Bingo, you've got to honor seasons. And, he took me back, way, way back. And I think I'm going to do it again today. I'm going to go through their social media post, and I'm going to go back to their very first post and see how many likes, how many views that they got. Do you understand? I just want to see how they were at the onset. I hope that they've not revamped their page and all. But I did that with some other people's pages, and you could see everybody agreed to start small. But one thing that set them apart is that they always showed up. Always showed up. You see, life happens in seasons, Tyler. And I think that's the painful part. That things don't happen because you so desire them, or because your energy matches up with a certain thing at that time, so everything will work. No, it doesn't. I think what motivation does, or what seeing people, living your dreams, it does for you, is that it allows you to taste the fulfillment for a moment. So you could use scripture, and scripture says, for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross. He tasted something. There was a joy that he was able to taste that made enduring the cross worthwhile for him. And so when you get that burst of adrenaline, that burst of excitement and joy because you meet your heroes, or because you meet your mentors, or people that you hold in high esteem, what you are given is a taste of what true fulfillment feels like. And that taste is not promised to last long. but it's meant to fuel and grant you energy and strength to persevere through process. The reason why people are celebrated, right, is because they always show up. You can't allow your mood to determine, okay, I'm up today, I'm down tomorrow, I'm up today, I'm down tomorrow. People would never take you seriously if you do that. Your generation won't take you seriously if you do that. You've got to be motivated way beyond your feelings. You've got to be motivated way beyond your perception of your readiness or preparedness at that time. There will always be somebody better than you. There will always be somebody doing it better. Somebody will have something that you don't have. But can you serve your generation with what you have right now? While you grow, while you build, while you harness your potential, while you refine it, serve your generation with what you've got. I think being a creative is very, very difficult because you are bombarded consistently with people at the top of your league. Oh, but if you don't show up, people would never know you. I think it's just one of those moments where, it's for people that I spoke with yesterday into today, there was this whole hype around, Binga and all, and I'm sure they'll be very, very surprised to hear the tone of this episode, but I'm all up for honesty. I just had this sense of like, oh, see how behind I am, and trying to force some certain things, trying to force recognition, trying to force relevance. And while I was just doing it, the Spirit of God told me some things, there's no point trying too hard. Let process and time have its course, guy. All these things that you're forcing, you're expending energy, you're wasting energy that can be utilized into something else. Tyler, we've got to understand that life happens in seasons. And I think that God tries to save us from certain things because we can be so unprepared, and a platform will be given to us, and our unpreparedness, our incompetence would so show. And sometimes you'd sit down and you'd be like, Lord, why haven't these certain doors opened? Or why hasn't this happened? Why hasn't this happened? And it looks like an attack. You don't know that it's the mercy of God speaking for you. Sometimes I wish I could just, really have a conversation with some of these guys. Let me just get into their heart a bit. What did they do with the moments where it looked like nothing was happening? Understand seasons. For every investment that the Lord places in you, or every potential that the Lord has placed in you, trust me, He is looking for a reward. He's looking for a fruit out of it. Now you can stand and sulk about how your moment of appearing hasn't come, and on the day that the Master comes over asking for His yield, you'll have nothing. Or you can stay in the place of process and grow so that at the moment of appearing, you are fortified for it. I just told myself that, hey, being there, you've got to show up. You've got to show up for Dear Tyler. You've got to show up for your music ministry. You've got to show up for your life. Just show up. Just show up. You may not feel readily prepared. You may not feel qualified at that time. You may not feel, but just be consistent. You know, I think there's a portion of scripture where, just paraphrasing, it says, you're talking about those who have mastered, their spiritual senses by reason of use. There is something that happens when you consistently use certain gifts. When you do certain things consistently, there is a level of mastery that you get, a level of competence. It's no longer a guesswork. You become really, really good at what you do, and it shows. So by reason of use, these ones have trained their spiritual senses to discern right and wrong. It's because they have used it consistently. Understand seasons and value seasons. Because seasons don't always come. Seasons don't always come. There is a time tag on your gift. There is a time tag. There's an expectation on you from God, from your generation. And you cannot use the time that you should be preparing and building and showcasing God's glory to be sulking about certain things. While Joseph was, hopeful about one day doing great things because of the dreams that God gave him, hopeful for that day, he was faithful in his place of service. And each of those moments were times and moments of preparation for him. When David was in the wilderness killing the bear, killing the lion, he never knew that Goliath was coming, but he was so prepared for it that the time when Goliath came, he was able to stand up for it. Do you understand? He was able to stand up and showcase the glory of God. But it's because he used the seasons of preparing very well. He was in the wilderness while other people were in the battlefront. They were singing songs of being heroes and all. He was in the wilderness. Probably a rejected child, looked down upon by his family. But he was in that wilderness, and he made the best and the most out of that opportunity. I will not lie that my heart is extremely weary, Tyler, because it is. But I'm going to show up, and I hope you show up too. I really hope you show up too. Whatever it is that you're doing, just show up. Make that post that video, share that story, send that article. Just show up. Just show up. And in the moment when you're trusting God, as you're trusting God to lift you, as you're trusting God to bring you certain levels of visibility, keep on preparing, refine your gift, refine it. But make sure you show up. I don't really think I have the heart to pray tonight. But all I can say is that, Lord, help us to not be weary in well-doing. Galatians 6 verse 9. Help us not to be weary in well-doing. For the fact that our seeds are planted in the ground and it looks all quiet, it doesn't mean something isn't happening. Just help us to keep on watering, to keep on fertilizing, to keep on plowing the fields. Just help us to show up, Lord. Thank you. I hope this episode blessed you. I hope it's even clear enough. And yeah, so I hope it blessed you. It's me signing out, Tyler. Remember that I love you, I believe in you, and I'm always rooting for you. Take care, Tyler.